Welcome back to Super Recaps. Today I will show you Northman, a movie from 2022. We are now in the year 895 AD, where King Orvandil and his bastard brother Filnir have come back with a lot of treasure after a successful raid. After a long trip, Orvandil finally gets to meet his wife Gudrun, and his son Amleth. He gifts his son a rare necklace that he took from a prince he slew. Filnir also finally gets to see his infant son Thora, but his mood is ruined when the court comedian Hymir mocks him. Meanwhile, Orvandil stays with his wife, Gudrun, and shows her his injury. Gudrun is concerned, but Orvandil assures her that he will be all right for the time being because he does not intend to die as an invalid. If he dies, he will die in an honorable battle. He does agree, though, that he must prepare Amleth in case he dies. The following night, Orvandil takes his son to the shrine, where they connect to their inner wolves, hence Amleth is blessed with their tribe's wisdom, and now he needs to pledge to lead an honorable life, and avenge his father in case he gets killed by the enemy. Then Hymir gives Amleth a drink, which makes him hallucinate, and upon touching his father's injury, he gets to see the entire family tree. When the boys leave the temple later, they are attacked by masked men riding on horseback. Amleth wants to fight too and help his father, but Orvandil orders him to escape, so the boy hides behind a boulder and sees his father get struck by many arrows. The group's leader then removes his mask, revealing himself to be Filnir, who kills his own brother so that he can become the next king. He then dispatches his warriors to find Amleth, who has fled deeper into the jungle. Finr discovers Amleth, but Amleth manages to slice off his nose with a blade before shoving him off and running away. Amleth sneaks into his village sometime later and sees Filnir's men slaughtering everybody who still supports Orvandil, and Filnir is taking Gudrun somewhere against her will. On the other hand, Finr refuses to expose that he lost to a kid, so he informs Filnir that Amleth has died and his body has been dumped in the sea. Amleth is fed up and so, he goes to the sea and escapes in a boat, vowing that one day he'll seek revenge for his father and save his mother. Many years pass by, and now, an older Amleth lives in the land of the Russ as a berserker of a Viking tribe. He's abandoned his princely upbringing to become a ferocious warrior, who aids his tribe in raiding villages, killing troops, claiming women, and taking their youngsters to sell as slaves. Following the victorious raid on the village, Amleth goes for a walk and finds a shrine with a seeress, who reminds him of his promise to take revenge and predicts that he will be successful, but only if he travels to the north, where Filnir lives. He should also find a vixen that will lead him to a fated sword. The seeress then departs after explaining that she is only assisting him since his path is entangled with that of a maiden king. The next day, Amleth learns that the people that they captured during the raid will be shipped to Iceland to work for Filnir as slaves, and he grabs the opportunity to learn more about his uncle. He finds out that his uncle had fled with his family after the king of Norway had seized his kingdom, which means that he had killed his brother for almost nothing. Then, Amleth spots a raven and interprets it as a sign, as his father was known as the Raven King. So then, to achieve his revenge, Amleth trims his hair, removes his necklace, grabs some clothes from a corpse, and wears them. Then he brands the slave mark on himself and sneaks on board the ship that is transporting the slaves to Iceland. On the ship, he encounters Olga, who says she is a sorcerer, and she is also aware that Amleth is a Northman. Nevertheless, she still approaches him with kindness. She also consoles him when his dreams are plagued by glimpses of the past, the future, and her too. During the voyage, the ship is hit by a storm, but the group manages to arrive in Iceland safely. They are collected by Finn, who shackles all of the slaves and leads them to his farm, where he resides with his first son, Thora, who is an adult now, and his second son, Gunnar. However, Filnir isn't satisfied with how weak all the slaves appear and wants them to leave. So, Amleth punches the man next to him to demonstrate his power and presents himself with a new name. After Amleth's display, Filnir decides to keep him, as well as 2 other men to work at the farms and some female servants for his wife. He seems especially interested in Olga. Later at night, Amleth slips out and tries to get a knife, but he is sidetracked when he spots a vixen, just as the seeress had prophesied. This indicates that he's on the right track. The following day, Amleth acts and works diligently as a slave, which allows him to enter Filnir's home. He is surprised to see that his mother, Gudrun, is still alive and healthy. She is now Filnir's wife and was the one who gave birth to Gunnar, his second son. Following that, Olga comes to him to see if he's acquired any information, and when soldiers notice she has left her position, they rush and drag her away. Before she leaves, Olga asks Amleth to search for her if he somehow loses her. Later, Amleth chases the vixen at night and discovers a male witch inside a cave. This man immediately knows Amleth and presents him with Hymir's head, which he has preserved since Filnir killed him. The witch calls Hymir's soul and convinces the head to speak straight into Amleth's consciousness, telling him the legend of the famous blade Draugr. The sword can only be used at night. According to the witch, Amleth must now go to the sword's master, which is the mound dweller, and trust the moonlight to discover the sword. The witch further gives Amleth one final message: one day, he will have to choose between compassion for his loved ones or hatred for his foes. Then to fetch the sword, Amleth enters the mound and discovers the dweller's body, sitting with the sword. Just as Amleth attempts to steal the blade, the dweller rises and begins fighting him, forcing Amleth to fight back with any object he finds lying around. Amleth remembers the witch's advice to trust the moonlight and pushes the dweller's body under the moonlight. The dweller can't move anymore, so Amleth takes this opportunity to destroy him. As he does this, he's suddenly taken back in front of the dweller sitting with the sword. When he tries to take the sword this time, it easily slips out. Then, Amleth goes back to the field, and is noticed by Filnir's dog, who begins to bark. Amleth growls at him to force him to stop barking, and so, Filnir does not spot Amleth. Filnir goes to Olga to sleep with her, but Olga reveals that she is on her period, which implies she's not available. She also attempts to hit Filnir in self-defense, but he effortlessly knocks her aside, and before departing, he instructs the head maid to teach Olga basic manners. Amleth witnesses everything from his hiding place and feels it's the ideal time to strike, but the sunlight is coming, and he won't be able to unsheath his sword. Therefore, he hides it for next time. The following morning, Amleth informs Olga about the sword, and she volunteers to assist since she, too, desires freedom. She has access to the kitchen which can be useful for their future plans. Furthermore, Amleth also makes it clear that he aims to rescue his mother too, as Gudrun is merely another victim, and she goes along with Filnir's demands only out of fear for her and Gunnar's safety. Following that, Fjolnir brings his family and a chosen group of slaves to meet the chieftain and his people to play a game of Natlikra. The game comprises 2 teams of 5 fighters. They have to fight each other to get a ball and score points, and killing is permitted. Amleth is chosen for Filnir's team and he is forced to play a horrific sport in which each player dies one by one. By the end, just Amleth and one fearsome opponent remain. Filnir's side is losing, which irritates Gunnar, so he attempts to catch the ball to score, but he is beaten by their opponent who strikes him down. But just when he is about to kill Gunnar, Amleth leaps in to defend him and kills the opponent. Later, they celebrate their victory, where Thora finds Amleth and thanks him for his devotion and courage. As a result of his good work, Amleth will now enjoy special treatment at the farm. He will work few hours and supervise the other slaves, and will also be able to take any woman he wants. Thora tells him he can even pick Olga because Fjolnir has lost hope in her and can't deal with her attitude. Amleth doesn't hesitate and searches for Olga. He takes her deep into the woods so they may get dirty without being seen. When they're finished, Olga utilizes her skills to communicate with Mother Nature and requests her protection. They also discover some rare mushrooms in the woods that will aid them in their master plan, which will eventually begin when they go back to the farm. The following day is quite average, but when night comes, Amleth surprise attacks and kills 2 of Gunnar's comrades. He creates a centaur shape out of their body parts and leaves it on display for others to find. When Gunnar discovers it, he is extremely enraged and vows vengeance on the Christians as he believes they did this, but Fjolnir is doubtful. The farm's priestess examines the corpses and tells everybody that the injuries aren't from this realm. She thinks whoever did this is thirsty for more and will strike again. The following night, when the priestess is readying an innocent girl to be sacrificed in hopes of getting protection from the gods, Amleth provokes all the creatures in the nearby area to bark and howl. Fjolnir's dog then becomes agitated because of the noise and attacks his master, forcing Fjolnir to kill him. Amleth then enters the temple when everyone is diverted by the animals. He sets the innocent girl free and ties up the priestess in her place. In the morning, Amleth discreetly adds the special mushrooms to the food, and the male slaves are assigned a new task where they have to defend the farm against any attacks. However, Fjolnir's troops become delusional because of the mushrooms, causing them to fight each other or hurt themselves. During the chaos, Amleth speaks to Olga. Then, he goes to the main building and shocks his mother by disclosing his true identity. Gudrun is happy to see him alive, but she has some bad news for him. The truth is that she doesn't need to be saved because Orvandil had lied to Amleth about his connection with his Gudrun. She was actually a slave whom he had forcefully taken against her will. She had never loved him or missed him. In reality, she had urged Fjolnir to kill him. She hadn't been crying on the day he had died. Instead, she had been blissfully laughing because she could finally be with the one she truly desired. After hearing this, Amleth is considering killing Gudrun too, but she tells him that he loves his mother and brother too much to do that. She says that if he kills Fjolnir and Thora, Gudrun will acknowledge him as her new king, and they will be able to lead together. She even kisses her own son just to convince him, but Amleth doesn't let her seduce him and abandons her to pursue Thora, who he murders in his own bed. Then he meets with Olga to inform her that he will hide in the mountains since Gudrun knows who he is now, and he can no longer pretend to be a slave. He says that they will complete their plan the next day. Eventually, when Fjolnir discovers Thora's body without the heart the next morning, he goes insane with despair, and Gudrun reveals that Amalith killed him. Fjolnir intends to start killing slaves one by one in order to force them to reveal everything they know, but just as he is about to execute Olga, Amalith jumps in to stop him. Now, Amalith is wearing his prince necklace once more, and after revealing his true identity, he confirms that he has Thora's heart. Fjolnir orders his men to go after him, so Amalith engages them in combat, allowing Olga to flee and letting himself be captured. Fjolnir thinks he has won and takes Thora's heart back, but Amalith explains that it's actually the dog's heart. Fjolnir is now enraged and ties Amalith in the stable and hits him repeatedly to force him to reveal the location of Thora's heart, and yet Amalith continues to stay silent. Eventually, Fjolnir must depart for Thora's funeral but vows to return later to kill Amalith. While leaving, one of the soldiers throws Amalith's sword on the floor, believing it is worthless because it cannot be unsheathed. After everyone has left, a troop of ravens appears with a hooded figure and frees Amalith. Meanwhile, Thora is given a thorough ceremonial funeral, and Gunnar is recognized as the rightful heir to the throne. They then return to the barn to finish Amalith, but he has already escaped. Upon waking, Amalith finds himself on horseback with a Valkyrie bringing him to Valhalla, but he awakens and realizes it was Olga who saved him. The fact that she returned must be destiny, encouraging Amalith to flee with her. He has connections in Orkney, so they might be able to secure passage there. After a day of horseback riding, the couple comes across a boat, and are invited on board. Amalith notices that Olga has a scar on her neck from Fjolnir's knife, and he kisses the scar out of love. This action gives him a vision of the family tree, where he discovers that Olga is pregnant with twins, and one of them will be the Maiden King just like the prophecy said. This should be wonderful news, but Amalith worries that as long as Fjolnir is alive, his children will always be in danger. Amalith resolves to choose both kindnesses for his family and hatred for his foes, remembering that he was told he had to pick between the two. Despite Olga's pleadings, he hands her his prince necklace in order to safeguard her future and dives off the ship. While Amalith swims back to land, Olga summons the wind spirits to guard the ship. During the night, Amalith returns to the farm and begins slaughtering all the soldiers, getting special enjoyment in painfully killing Finn. Amalith enters the main home after releasing all the enslaved women, and is attacked by Gudrun, who is holding the sword Fjolnir gave her for self-defense. Unfortunately, she has no combat training, and Amalith finds it very easy to stab her in the heart and kill her. Just then, Gunnar appears and leaps on Amalith's back, but Amalith throws him off and soon kills him too. Fjolnir appears next, and as he looks at his dead family, he tells Amalith to face him at the gates of hell for the last battle, referring to the crater of the volcano Hekla. Amalith, who is bleeding profusely from the stab wounds, sees the slaves set fire to the farm and head to the volcano. Amalith encounters the bodies of Gudrun and Gunnar on his trip up to the volcano and blesses them. He then finally reaches Fjolnir. Both men are exceptional fighters, and the battle is fairly matched. However, Amalith is already injured, so Fjolnir quickly overpowers him. Amalith, on the other hand, finds power in his rage, and after fighting for a bit longer, they both kill each other at the same instant. While dying, Amalith has a vision of Olga, happy with his twins, and a Valkyrie arrives to carry his spirit to Valhalla. Thanks for watching. To support the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button and press the bell icon to get new video updates.